Well, local accounts on Windows were really fun while it lasted. It was really amazing when you could say, this is the computer I want these files on. But Microsoft had a few other ideas. Is this the end of local accounts? Welcome back to Switch to Linux, where we talk about Linux, how to switch to Linux, and why one might want to switch to Linux. So today we are back with another fun Windows article story as they're getting more and more pushy about those Microsoft accounts, which effectively ties everything on that device to Microsoft and their servers, which means all of the data you can do has an easy portal to go right on up to their company servers, which they own, they have control of, and they are not zero knowledge encrypted up there, which means they can peruse through your files. They can hand everything you are doing on your system out to anybody from some three-letter agency that asks. And if you've been paying attention, there has been a lot of lawfare against people for political reasons, not necessarily legal reasons. So that old adage, I have nothing to hide, it just doesn't hold water anymore, because you never know which regime gets back in charge. You know, if people on the right become back in charge and a precedent has been set to attack people legally that you disagree with politically, well, everyone on the left now has something to worry about. And of course, if the left keeps on prosecuting their opponents, everybody on the right has something to worry about. This is why I want to make sure that my individual files stay on my individual device and they only move when I explicitly want to do them. Unfortunately, Windows does not want to do that, as they are taking that first step towards saying goodbye to the local Microsoft account. Now, I did set up a computer for somebody a few months back where we took a Windows 11 computer and we walked through all of the steps that it would take to convert a computer to Linux. And we talked a little bit about why I don't like Windows and that. And if you'll remember, we set that up with a local account, which required you to do funky things, basically Shift F10, enter a command on the terminal shell, reboot the system, and that finally allowed you to bypass the internet connection and connect with a local account. More and more ways of bypassing the requirement for a Microsoft account are being blocked, although some of them still remain to this day. It will be not clear if you will be able to soon set up a Windows account without a Microsoft account in the future. And today we're looking at some of that first step towards that, having a look at an article from Ars Technica. And Microsoft removes documentation for switching to a local account in Windows 11. Now, they do say here that most of the account sign-in workarounds continue to work. However, don't forget this huge rollout is coming out, which this is really that one that they want to block as much as possible. And the unfortunate reality of that is that this has been a botched rollout. It has been a botched rollout. They've had to do a lot of step backs on recall and things like that. But let's go ahead and have a look at what the article says. Of course, like all things, they do this very stealthily. One of Windows 11's more contentious changes is that by default, both Home and Pro editions require users to sign in with a Microsoft account during setup. Signing in with an account does get you some benefits, assuming you want their benefits. If you are a regular user of other Microsoft products like OneDrive, Game Pass, or Microsoft 365, but if you do not use those services, a lot of what Microsoft account gets you is Windows 11 repeated ads and reminders. There you go, about signing up for those services. So there you have it. Hey, we see you're signed in here and you're not using OneDrive. Would you like to use OneDrive? Come on, how about Game Pass? Game Pass, come on, Game Pass, Game Pass. Waste more of your time on video games. Yay! I'm not saying that every instance of playing video games is wasteful. Just calm down. Just calm down. All right. I'm just saying. I don't want to see constant things. Of course, their Game Pass ads were mostly pushed towards people who already game to do extra services or things. And of course, the Microsoft Office 365. Now, they say here, one of the things Microsoft has taken more minor but nevertheless irritating step from allowing them to sign in with local accounts. The official Microsoft support count which walks users with local accounts into the process of signing up for an account. As of June 12th, the page also included instructions for converting a Microsoft account back into a local account. However, Tom's Hardware noticed that around June 17th, they have removed that. So here is from the Internet Archive. This is the one from June 12th. Change from a local account to a Microsoft account. Of course, they start with upselling it. You initially set up your Windows device. You might have opted to use a local account instead. And the main difference between a Microsoft account is that a local account is specific to one device. How horrible. How horrible. Well, a Microsoft account can be used across multiple devices and Microsoft services. A local account is created on the device and doesn't require internet connectivity to sign in. It is independent of other services, and it is not connected to the cloud. Your settings, files, and applications are limited to that single device. How horrible. I mean, if you need that file somewhere else, you have to look for an archaic USB drive and slip it into your computer and move a file. What kind of person wants to do that in 2024? Oh, it's just more convenient to have everything you have on Microsoft servers so they can look through it all. But a Microsoft account, on the other hand, is associated with an email address and a password that you use with Outlook.com and Hotmail and Office and OneDrive and Skype and Xbox and Windows. When you sign into your PC with a Microsoft account, you're connecting to the Microsoft Cloud service, and your settings and files can sync across various devices, so the three-letter agencies have better... Oh, wait, they left that part out. Excuse me. Across your various devices, you can also use it to access other Microsoft services. And then they say down here... change from a local account to a Microsoft account, but they also have a bullet down here. This is June 12th. You can change from a Microsoft account to a local account. So they have these steps going on over here. Now, they silently rolled out an edit to this article. Again, nothing is dated, so you don't know exactly when anything is going on. But now on the new page, it just goes switching from a local account to a Microsoft account. And you'll see that everything in this is now explicitly down here. There's no upsell of why you might want to use it because they're assuming you don't already have one. But if you happen to get a local account, you have to use the Windows account. Now, here is my fundamental question, and I do not, legitimately, I don't know the answers. I don't use Windows, guys. You got to understand. Let me know in the comments. If you have signed up your computer only to a Microsoft account, can you log into your computer without the internet? Or does it literally need to go to the internet to check? I imagine they have a safeguard that you can at least log into your computer. I imagine they're caching something locally that allows you to do that, but I don't know. It is Microsoft after all. So let me know in the comments down there, guys. But their new documentation, when you set it up, you might have opted to use a local account. You may, if you want to switch to your local account to a Microsoft account, follow these individual steps. And you will see the sign in with local account instead if you're already using your Microsoft. Wait, if you see the sign in with a local account, you're already using it. So allegedly, if you had created the computer with a local account, you can probably switch back to it. Possibly. There's that little note. However, I don't know if they're going to remove that at some point in time as well. And so ultimately what they're doing is they're beginning this slow rollout where they're cutting off more of those ways where you can set up your computer without the local account. They're making it so forcing you into that Microsoft account. Don't forget that the 24H2 release, when it's finally rolled out to everybody, all new computers set up under that, even your home editions, will be encrypted by default. The passkeys for that encryption drive are going to be in the Microsoft account, which means any three-letter agency has the decryption keys to your hard drive. So it gets rid of the ability that you can protect your data from unscrupulous eyes who may or may not have political motives, even if you're otherwise squeaky clean in the eyes of the blind justice who suddenly has grown a pair of eyes. But with that being said, there are still ways. Now, one recommendation, somebody said if they do manage to block all of these, is if you keep around an install of 23H2, set it up with a local account, and then upgrade to 24H2, then you can probably still keep that local account for a while. So if you need to set up a new computer and you have to use Windows, that might be the option that keeps the local account. Here's some other workarounds. I thought this was hilarious. People are like, Linux is too complicated. Really? Here's what it takes to set up a Windows computer without connecting it to the internet. Okay, this one still works. So the easiest way to do it on a PC, this is the easiest way. You take your PC, you open it up, and you get to the step, and it will not let you go without connecting to the internet. So if you hold Shift F10, you'll get a command prompt. Remember, that's the thing that people said, Linux is too hard. You got to use a command prompt. You have to get to the command prompt, type OOBE/bypass NRO, reboot the computer, and now you'll have the option to say, I don't have internet. And you might have to do that same step a couple of times to get the computer set up on a local account. Other workarounds include using the Rufus tool to create a USB installer that will automatically bypass the Microsoft sign-in requirement. I have no idea how to do that. Maybe it's just an option in Rufus. I don't know. Let me know. Okay. And then you have the other way is that you can, if you're a Windows 11 Pro user, you can indicate you want to join the PC to a corporate domain, but then just not actually joining a domain. That'll allow you to use a local account as well. Setting up a PC with a Microsoft account and then signing out afterwards is also still an option, but I think that that's the one they're going to get rid of, being as that they removed that individual option from the layout here. You know, it used to be an option how to switch to a local account. Yeah, we don't want you to do that anymore. So yeah, we're not going to let you. We're not going to go ahead and let you do that. All right, and then there's one workaround that allegedly stopped, and that's if you tried to sign in with a non-existent email account, you would get a local sign-in option. But as of earlier this month, according to Zach Bowden at Windows Central, it looks like the Windows 11 subscreen will ask you to just try another email address instead. So they're doing every systematic thing they can do to get you to stop using a local account. They want you connected to the internet. They want you on an account because they are collecting a tremendous amount of data about you, and be assured they are going to use that data against you at the very first moment. There have been many documented cases. In fact, the director for one of the conferences I go to had, I think it was an Outlook account or was it a Gmail account? It was one of those two big corporate accounts, and suddenly for no reason, they just deleted the account, said you can't use it anymore, and she lost all of her emails and all of her contacts and everything. So she had to go with the other company now. I'm like, do something different. Do something different, please. This is why. And she's not doing anything. Like, she's a retired person who runs a conference. It just happens to be a Christian one. Maybe that had something to do with it. So with that being said, there are issues with this. Now, they do mention here that, to be fair, Microsoft and all big tech companies want you to sign in with an account before you can use their features, but neither Apple nor Google goes as far to mandate the account. Macs, iPhones, and iPads will let you complete the process without signing in, though you do have to know which buttons to click. Google will allow you to use Chromebooks in a guest mode. Android and phone tablets have the option to sign in without creating it. And they say it does make it more difficult to find and install apps. I agree. If that's you, Aurora Store if you need those Google apps, or F-Droid if you're looking explicitly for the open source stuff. Microsoft, however, is being super pushy and super forceful with it. Now, that in and of itself is the fundamental issue here. But what I want to talk to you guys about here, since this is Switch to Linux is not going to take away the ability to use a local account, and they will only send things to a cloud if you happen to want things going to a cloud. So, for example, I just simply spun this machine up yesterday just to test out the new version of Cinnamon coming out. And this is Arch Linux. Very easy to install Arch Linux these days. Maybe I'll do another video on it because they have the new Arch install script. And I think I did a video on it a couple of years ago, but it'd be worth going back and doing it again. So basically, I land on my login screen. This is a local account. Go ahead and hit your login button. Now, I have the option to encrypt this drive on setup, which it will be encrypted with a password, but nobody actually gets in, and it doesn't send that password, that passkey up to any account or anything. But here I have logged into the account. Everything that I do on this computer is going to stay local on the computer. We got all the stuff we need. See if you want desktop options. It's very easy to do that. Desktop settings. Here you go. I don't like my computer. That's not as useful in Linux. There you go. There's your home folder, and we'll turn on our trash folder as well, so we can use our desktop icons just fine. We have a full system settings panel over here. You can do just a lot of different things with it. And, everything you do stays locally. Now, the other thing, though, that many modern Linux systems allow you to do is if you do require some form of online accounts, you can set them up, and they have a lot more controls in place. In fact, notice Microsoft 365. Now, this is brand new to Linux, so I haven't even tested this. Like I said, I don't use Microsoft accounts. But we have a Microsoft 365. This is a standard Microsoft account, which uses the OAuth. This is a Google account, also uses the OAuth. We also have simple web davs. We have simple emails, IMAP, SMTP. We also have Nextcloud, much more private of an option. We have a Microsoft Exchange over here. So there is a lot of things. You can set all these up, and any qualifying apps can use this online account setting and automatically sync just like it does. So for example, I have the application Evolution on here, and I know if I use my online accounts and I sign into my Nextcloud account, all of my contacts, all of my calendars sync to this automatically. I don't have to do anything else. I have never tested the email one. That is also new. Allegedly, since Evolution does everything else, it should see those email accounts, but I don't know. Stay tuned for a future video where we're going to test that out sometime. But you can still connect these to your online accounts. You can even install a client that allows you to choose which files to sync. Suppose you do need some files to sync up in the cloud. You can go ahead and install the application. Just say, okay, we'll set one folder up here, and we're just going to move one folder. I need to turn off my auto arrange. There you go. There you go. If I want to set one folder over here and say, okay, anything in this folder is going to sync to the cloud, but nothing else on the computer syncs to the cloud. This way I can control what syncs and which cloud. I sync it to my Nextcloud account personally. So I can go ahead and do that, and everything in that folder will sync, but nothing else will. I have total options here in Linux. And this one is one of the harder Linux distributions to use out of the box. The one thing this one's missing is it doesn't have any software center installed by default. So I'd have to install one of those. I didn't, just because this was just built up to show this whole desktop environment here. But most of your Linux distributions I recommend, like your Linux Mint, MX Linux, Linux Lite, Zorin OS, they have software managers where there's just an option right up here in the menu. You just type in software, and you'll see a software installer. You click the button and you see a bunch of applications, and you're not downloading anything from some shady place. So you're not going to get some malware by clicking on an ad accidentally. It's going to install directly, safely from the Linux repository, and you'll have all sorts of applications. And then if you're like, well, I need XYZ application, do you need that application, or do you need what that application does? Yes, there are cases where if you're a professional graphic designer and your company mandates Photoshop, you have to use Photoshop, in which case, my apologies, you're going to be stuck on either Mac or Linux, or Mac or Windows, excuse me. But if you're doing something like, okay, I need to do what? I just need to edit images because I like editing my images. GIMP is an available option. But there is a nice little thing called alternative2.net, which you can plug in any software you need, and it's going to tell you what the alternatives are based on different licenses. Of course, Microsoft Office, you can easily replace Microsoft Office with LibreOffice or with OnlyOffice or with just a dozen other ones out there. OpenOffice is still a thing, although it's kind of lagged behind in features lately. But yes, some people might say, well, you have to use Microsoft Office. I actually know several people on my channel who've said, yeah, we quote have to use it, but I use LibreOffice anyway, because as long as you do a couple things like install the fonts Windows users are going to be looking for and change your settings to save documents in the docx format, nobody knows you're not using it. But let's just go with Office 365. And We'll go ahead. We'll do Microsoft 365. Let's try that. All right. So this is more of a cloud-based thing. So LibreOffice, now the downside is LibreOffice doesn't make it as easy to do all of the cloud distribution stuff. It is still possible, particularly if you breach it with Nextcloud, but OnlyOffice is your best bet for that one, as they've done a lot more. They've done a lot more to sync the ability to do online collaborative stuff a little bit easier. LibreOffice does support it, but it's not as easy to set up as OnlyOffice. But there are other alternatives you can have. Of course, a lot of these, like, I don't know, again, how Office 365 works. Can you use it cloud-based? If you can use it on Linux all day long. You have all the same web browsers on Linux as you have on Windows. So, of course, Google Docs works perfectly. I know I've had to do some things with Google Docs for clients of mine. WPS. This is free, although it is a freemium. It is a proprietary, not my preference, but it is an option you can use as well. OnlyOffice tries to be more compatible with DocX, as does WPS tries to be more compatible with DocX. LibreOffice mostly focuses on the open source document type files, but they also work really well with DocX as well. You just have to toggle a couple settings to change those to your defaults. So any type of software you're looking for, go ahead and plug it in up here and see if there's an alternative for it. And then, of course, on those alternatives, you can also choose, are you looking for something that's free or open source or a whole variety of other things? Do you need cloud syncing options? You know, if you have cloud syncing options, you'll see those showing up here. So Nextcloud allows you to sync OnlyOffice or LibreOffice inside their Nextcloud all-in-one. There's your Office 365, Google Photos, WPS, NT Office, Office Online, Nextcloud Hub. Again, OnlyOffice should be on this list, but it's not. LibreOffice should be on the list, but it's not. Both of those do actually use the cloud capabilities. Again, not as easy to set up, but it is certainly possible. So there is a little bit about some of your Linuxy stuff as they're trying to get rid of the local accounts, push you onto a Microsoft account where all of your stuff goes up into the clouds. Push back against that nonsense, guys. Don't let them do that. Don't let them do that at all. Stick around with Linux as much as you possibly can. We have great tutorials about how you can try out Linux without modifying your current system. Or, hey, if you're ready, just wipe that beast, install Linux on it, and move on. Don't let Microsoft sit here and take full and total control over you by saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get rid of all of these local accounts. You want that Microsoft account. Come on, man. So the local accounts were good while they lasted. Let me know your thoughts about these and the other things we mentioned in the video down below. Also, leave some comments down there. What is your favorite Linux distribution you'd recommend people switch to first if they're looking to make a switch to Linux? I, of course, generally recommend Linux Mint most of the cases, but other people like MX Linux and Zorin and Linux Lite. Some still say Ubuntu. There are other good options out there. So leave your favorite distributions down below and leave your horror stories about your Microsoft local accounts also down in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.